Software CEOs, could I please ask you to introduce yourselves?
My name is Bill Gates. I'm chairman of Microsoft. And during 1984, Microsoft expects to get half of its revenues from Macintosh software. Well, to create a new standard, it takes something that's not just a little bit different. It takes something that's really new and really captures people's imagination. And the Macintosh, of all the machines I've ever seen, is the only one that meets that standard.
And Microsoft took a big gamble to write for the Mac. And they came out with applications that were terrible. You know, it's McDonald's. The only problem with Microsoft is they just have no taste. They have absolutely no taste. And what that means is, I don't mean that in a small way, I mean that in a big way. In the sense that they don't think of original ideas, and they don't bring much culture into their product. They just make really third-rate products.
The computer business is becoming a monopoly with Microsoft. And without getting into whether Microsoft gained this position legally or not, who cares? The end product of the position is that the ability to innovate in the industry is being sucked out dry. So hopefully things will change over time, but I think it's a kind of a dark period right now.
I really strongly feel that setting Microsoft up as Satan and having a holy war against Microsoft would be exactly the wrong thing for Apple to do. I mean, I don't expect the federal government to break up Microsoft for a lot of reasons, the least of which is the federal government's a monopoly. I mean, they're buddies. So, Microsoft's a fact of life. They're like the air we breathe.
During the last several weeks, we have looked at some of the relationships, and one has stood out as a relationship that hasn't been going so well, but had the potential, I think, to be great for both companies. And I'd like to announce one of our first partnerships today, a very, very meaningful one, and that is one with Microsoft. We have to let go of this notion that for Apple to win, Microsoft has to lose. Okay? The era of setting this up as a competition between Apple and Microsoft is over as far as I'm concerned.
I'm really pleased to tell you that despite the boos we received a year ago at Macworld, this partnership has blossomed.
We have our differences from time to time, but we work things out in a very professional way. So some of the best software on the Macintosh actually does come from Microsoft.
I know there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the DOJ trial recently. We've tried to stay out of it, but we couldn't. We got subpoenaed by both sides. And we found ourselves in it to some extent. I wanted to say a few words about that, because our relationship with Microsoft is kind of like a marriage. It's terrific about 99% of the time.
You know who the biggest Mac supporter is at Microsoft?
Okay.
Bill
Yes,
Gates.
it's Bill Gates,
yes.
yeah.
So I think we're doing some good work together.
But this is what they're up to.
Longhorn. And that's the days until Longhorn. Just counts them down. This is what we've been doing for the last 5 years. What has our competitor been doing for the last 5 years? Well, they've been trying to ship a single release that's had many names, but is now called Vista. And to give you our thoughts on Vista, I'd like to bring up Bertrand Serlet.
We hung in the hallways of the conference those big banners that said, "Redmond, start your photocopiers." It was all a joke, but they actually took it seriously. In terms of UI, they did a major innovation. Instead of having the menu on the top right, they put it on the bottom left. If you can't innovate, I guess you just imitate, but it's never quite as good as the original.
Thank you, Bertrand. You know, our friends up north spend over $5 billion a year on R&D, and yet these days all they seem to be able to do is try to copy Google and Apple. So I guess it's a good example of how money isn't everything.
We've got cards and letters from lots of people that say that iTunes is their favorite app on Windows.
Actually,
It's like giving a glass of ice water to somebody in hell.
I love my Mac.
We've got a basic version, which is going to cost $129. We've got a premium version, which is going to cost $129. We have a business version, which is going to cost $129. We have an enterprise version. It's going to cost $129. And we have the ultimate version. We're throwing everything into it. It's $129. Here's one that might be coming on soon. Jim Allchin at Microsoft was quoted recently as saying if he didn't work for Microsoft, he would buy a Mac, and he's retiring soon, so I've alerted our Seattle stores to keep an eye out for him and give him really good service.
I mean, we never saw ourselves in a platform war with Microsoft. I mean, maybe that's why we lost. But we always saw ourselves as trying to build the best computers we knew how to build for people. That's always what we were trying to do.